Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Adrenaline. Today is Tuesday, January 6th, 2026, and it is time to wake up the warrior. Listen, today's an important day because today is day 2 of our high value human series. And what we're going to talk about today is the benefits. What could you expect when you become a high value human a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now? How is your life going to change for the better? And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk through all 4 books of your life that we talked about yesterday that we'll touch on again here in just a minute. But first and foremost, let's recap a little bit of yesterday because I mentioned that the most powerful identity you can have as a human being, the way that you identify yourself as a human being, would be that of a high value human. And we talked through the 8 main traits. Now, you could add more, but I think there's 8 main traits that make up a high value person. Man, woman, child, whatever it might be. And so a high value human has 8 main traits. We talked through that yesterday. Tomorrow, the reason today is so important when we talk about the payoff is tomorrow we're going to talk about the cost. Of course, anytime you want something valuable in your life, you want things to change, you want transformation, you want things to happen for the better in your life, it's going to cost you something. So I really want to emphasize today how powerful your life is going to be in as little as a week, how powerful it's going to be for sure in a year, and what your future looks like. Because tomorrow, again, we're gonna hit hard with what it costs. What is it going to? What do you have to give up in order to get what you want in life? And in this case, what do you have to give up to become a high value human? So look, today is not about hype. I'm not going to tell you that you need to grind harder. Okay. We are really focused right now on who we're being, not what we're doing. I'm not saying there's not value to hard grind. I'm just simply saying that's not what it takes to become a high value human. High value is not about grinding. High value is about becoming. Today is all about amazing transformation. When you remove internal resistance that keeps you small. So again, no hype today. It's going to be exactly what to expect out of the hard work that you're going to put in to become the person that you want to become. So look, here's the question of the day. If you truly invested in yourself as a high value human, what results would you expect? Now, when I ask this question, I want you to think about your business life and your career, your money and your finances, your relationships. And you might want to make some notes as we go. What are some things that you might expect? I'm going to tell you what you can expect. You may have a whole nother list of benefits. Business and career, money and finances, relationships, your health, your nutrition, your energy, your purpose, and your faith. See, high value always produces results. The question is where? So just as a quick recap, we talked about the 4 stories or 4 books you're writing of your life. And here's the thing, you're writing them all at the same time. Every single day you're writing part of your book of your business and career, or money and finance, which is all one book, right? Your business, career, money, and finance. You're writing in that book every single day. You're writing inside of your book of relationships and communication. You're writing inside of your book of fitness and nutrition, and you're writing inside of your book of spirituality and purpose. Every decision you make writes a page, and every habit reinforces that chapter. So we all turn the calendar to a new year. We just entered 2026 less than a week ago. We have no choice but to turn the calendar. The problem is that most of us keep repeating the same chapter year after year. We haven't turned the page. We haven't started writing a new chapter of our life. And if you're stuck in an old chapter that you're not happy with, at some point you're going to have to make a decision. See, the areas in life which you are failing, it's because you're stuck in repetition. Comfort keeps people stuck in chapters they've already outgrown. So you need to recognize, and again, on Friday, day 5, I'm going to help you recognize where some of those weaknesses are, or where a lot of those weaknesses are, that will help you turn the corner into transformation. You don't need to fix one part of life in isolation because identity touches everything. I use an example. I'll give you an example. I talk about something called the performance leak effect. And the performance leak effect is basically for the corporate world, for the sales world. And what the performance leak effect says is that when somebody comes to work, they may have all the proper training. They might have the best tools, the best technology, the best team leaders, the best everything, coaches. But the problem that people face when they come to work are the exterior things that are affecting their lives, not necessarily what's happening at work. So I tell employers all the time, listen, it's probably the challenges you're having are probably external because you're probably doing most things, if not everything, right internally. So think about this. When somebody goes to work, when you go to work, are you bringing baggage with you? Are you bringing relationship baggage, financial baggage, health and fitness challenges? So again, you don't fix one part of your life in isolation. Your identity touches every part of your life. So it's very important that we don't just fix one aspect, but we fix them all. So let's start with the first book, Business, Career, Money, Finance. We'll just lump all that into one section here. And let's start for business owners, entrepreneurs, self-employed people, maybe salespeople. And let's talk about the core shift that you can expect if you're one of those people. The core shift is that attraction, what you can expect when you become a high value human is that attraction replaces chasing. See, when you become high value, clients start coming to you. Think about yourself as a business owner, entrepreneur, salesperson. What would it look like if you stopped chasing everybody? I'm not saying that you stop making calls and all of those things. I'm not saying you stop prospecting. I'm just simply saying that what would it look like if more people came to you because you attract, because you have a magnetic personality, because you're a high value human? What would it look like? When you become high value, clients come to you. You stop chasing leads. You stop chasing approval. You stop chasing validation. Your presence does all of the heavy lifting for you. So high value attracts, low value chases. Attraction creates confidence. So the first thing you can expect is attraction, but once you attract, you build more confidence. Confidence in return creates momentum. So now you have attraction, people coming to you, which builds your confidence. Second benefit of a high value human as a business owner, entrepreneur, salesperson. And the third thing is you're going to build momentum out of that. And momentum is what happens when confidence meets your clarity, your focus, your decisiveness. So why does confidence change everything? You stop over-explaining yourself to people. Have you ever been on a call and you just, I do it all this, I do it on video sometimes. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to go into all that. It's very easy to do on a sales call. It's very easy to do in a relationship. It's very easy to do when you're trying to explain to your fitness trainer why you're not coming in today. You stop over-explaining because you don't need to. If you have integrity and character and your fitness trainer knows that, they know that you're sick. You don't need to sell it. You also stop discounting yourself. Have you ever done that? Just put a low value on yourself. You may do it and not even realize that you're doing it. But when you become high value, you stop discounting yourself and you stop trying to convince people, because people don't buy products. They buy certainty of outcome. So decisions get cleaner, energy shifts from proving into leading, and business feels lighter, not heavier. You ever get home at the end of the day? You're like, man, today was exhausting. Today felt hard. Remember, the key is not necessarily working harder or working more hours, but using your time to be more productive and get more done so that at the end of the day, you don't feel so heavy. Confidence isn't loud, it's calm. So results, the idea here is to get results without the burnout. I just mentioned it, but what would it look like if work flows without forcing it. What would happen if you got more done in less time? You want a success life hack? Do you want more to increase the amount of time that you live? Here's your success hack. Get more done in a day. Because here's the deal. We have a finite amount of time on this earth. We have a finite amount of time on earth. However, we can get more done, which is a great life hack to extend your life. Because when you look back, when you're 80 years old, you're not going to say, I wish I would have done, but you're going to say, I'm glad I did that. That's how you increase your time on earth. You increase your value of what you give to humanity. Effort goes down, results go up. What happens? How does that affect results without burnout? Right? Effort goes down and results go up. How would that impact your life as an entrepreneur or as a salesperson? Productivity increases when you stop fighting yourself. You end the day fulfilled, not drained. And fulfillment comes from progress, not exhaustion. Now, if you're an employee, what does this look like? Well, the core shift as an employee would be more energy. You show up to work more positive, and ultimately you end up more productive. Now, so when we talk about an identity shift, when your identity shifts, your energy shifts. If you create a more empowered identity, what do you think is going to happen? We said confidence builds momentum. Confidence also builds energy. When you show up lighter, sharper, and more present, what are people around you going to think in your office space? You don't complain, you contribute. So think of energy like this. Energy is a leadership signal. Positivity becomes noticeable. So not only is everybody that you work with around you, are they going to notice your shift in personality, in energy, in positivity? But guess who else is going to notice? Your employer, your boss, your supervisor, the person responsible for making the decision whether you get promoted, whether you get a leadership role, whether you get a pay raise. Because what happens when you become high value as an employee is that proactivity becomes consistent. You start to become proactive. You don't need to be asked to do everything. You already know what to do, and you jump into it with energy, excitement, enthusiasm, and things start to shift in the workplace. See, proactive people get promoted. The other thing that happens is leadership opportunities usually follow. Leaders don't promote potential. They promote presence. They promote trust. They promote reliability. They promote execution and action. See, leadership is a behavior, not a position. You solve problems instead of creating them. You lead without needing a title. Again, these are the things that start to happen when you become a high-value human and you start to transform into that person. Have you ever gotten promoted just simply by asking, hey, I'd like a promotion to VP. Can I get that, please? You don't get it by asking, you get it by showing. The other thing you can so here's what you can expect, right? Leadership, pay raises, and advancements. High-value employees make themselves indispensable. Are you indispensable at work right now? Could you be replaced by somebody brand new day one that's going to come in with more excitement, more energy, more focus, more clarity, more positivity? Maybe they have a little less experience. Maybe your job doesn't need that experience. Maybe it does. But we see it all the time, younger people replacing older people. Because sometimes when you get older and you get older in a job, you lose your excitement and your energy around that job. See, you got to regain it. You got to get it back, or you become indispensable. High value people manage themselves. They elevate the environment around them. Positivity is contagious. What would it look like if you all of a sudden became the beacon for positivity in your office space? What would your supervisor think? Are you more promotable? Are you more deserving of a raise or a leadership role? Of course you are. So look, I created inside of the CC Vita membership site, which some of you are familiar with, some of you are not, but I created a step-by-step workshop, a step-by-step masterclass is what it is, on how to get promoted or to get the next pay raise in your job, right? And becoming a high-value human is step one in that entire process. Now, how does this look like when you are managing your money and your finance? Well, high value has a positive relationship with money. High value humans don't fear money. They don't shame it. They don't resent those who earn it. Money is not the goal. Money is the receipt. See, money follows value. There's that word again. Money follows value. Value follows contribution. If you give value, you earn money. If you give no value, you struggle. That's the equation. The equation is this: if you give value, you earn money. If you give no value, you struggle. Why do people with low value always complain about high income earners? Because they're not giving enough value. If you want to become a high value person, you need to give more value around you. The other thing that happens with money is that clarity and wealth go hand in hand. So high value humans don't chase money. They focus on solving problems. Their confidence around money grows when you become high value. Your decisions become long-term, not emotional. Money becomes a force for good. Money becomes a tool, not a trap. It supports your family. It supports your growth, but it also makes an impact in the community that you live in and whatever other community you want to serve. See, high-value humans are some of the most generous people in the world. Yeah, some of them tend to be wealthy. You do not, by the way, you do not have to have wealth or a lot of money to be high value, because high value is more of a character trait. But what tends to come to high value humans is more opportunity, and a lot of times that leads to more wealth. High value doesn't hoard, it multiplies. Your giving starts to become intentional, and impact becomes part of your identity. Money in disciplined hands becomes a force for good. Let's talk about book number 2, and that's relationships and communication. High-value humans connect, lead, and attract. So let's first talk about the core shift of communication, because that always comes first. What's going to happen when you transform into being a high-value human is you're going to have stronger communication skills. You're going to communicate clearly. You're not going to hint or mess around with your words. You're not going to manipulate. And you don't perform for approval. Remember yesterday we talked about how a lot of people are just inauthentic and they're performing instead of being their authentic self. Clarity creates confidence, and confidence creates attraction. There's that word again. Some of these words are resurfacing inside of your books. When your words are clear, your presence is calm. And when your presence is calm, people feel safe around you. See, people they're not relaxed around confusion and chaos. If you're creating confusion and chaos in people's lives, they're going to get rid of you. Anybody with high value, anybody with high self-esteem. But they're going to relax if you're calm and clear about who you are and what you bring to the table. And when I say what you bring to the table, I'm not talking about what you give them. I'm talking about the atmosphere you create around them. Are you a peaceful person or are you a chaotic person? What are you bringing to them? What kind of energy, what kind of vibe are you bringing to people? Here's some more things that you can expect from the communication aspect. That's misunderstandings decrease, drama fades. What would it look like if you had a less dramatic life? Not so much drama, not just you, but the people around you. If you got rid of all the drama, expectations are understood instead of assumed. See, most conflict isn't caused by disagreement. It's caused by poor communication. You say what you mean what you say, and you follow through. And then consistency builds trust faster than charm. High-value humans don't chase people, and they don't audition. They don't over-explain themselves. The moment you stop chasing, your energy changes. You stop trying to be liked, and you start being respected. The right people recognize you when you recognize yourself. Low-value connections fade. High-value connections find you. Listen, guys, that's not loss. That's alignment. That's what you can expect in your relationships when you become high value. You lead emotionally. You don't react impulsively. You don't outsource your emotional state. You don't convince people to respect you. You condition them to respect you. See, high-value humans don't negotiate standards, character, integrity. When your boundaries become clear, relations stabilize. A lot of times people are afraid to set boundaries in your relationships, but the reality is boundaries don't push the right people away. They protect your relationship and they make sure that the right people are in your life. Have you ever been in a relationship where you were verbally abused, disrespected, or taken advantage of, and you actually put up with it? And maybe you're not even aware. Not because you wanted to, but because you were afraid to lose the friend, lose the relationship, lose the circle of friends that friend is associated with. That fear isn't weakness. It's a lack of internal authority. So another core benefit in your relationships is self-respect emerges. One of the most powerful benefits of becoming high value is self-respect, not arrogance, not ego, but internal authority. When you become high value, you begin holding yourself in the highest regard you ever have. You stop abandoning yourself to keep others comfortable. You stop tolerating behavior you once excused. Self-respect changes what you tolerate, and what you tolerate changes your life. So are you qualifying people or are you being qualified by others? See, before you become high value, you try to be qualified into other people's lives. You try to fit into their boxes, into their molds, into their tribes. You lower standards to maintain connection. After you become high value, you qualify people into your life. You raise standards and let alignment decide who fits and who doesn't fit. Your boundaries become natural. You say no when you need to say yes. When you used to say, you say no when you used to say yes. When yes was the natural response. You said yes to everything. Try saying no once. You stop over-explaining and you stop negotiating with guilt. Boundaries aren't walls, they're your actual standards for your life. Relationships stabilize or they fall away, and other outcomes serve you. I'll say it again, that's not loss, that's alignment. What are some other side effects of high-value relationships? More happiness, more peace, more joy, less chaos, less emotional exhaustion. When people like you, you move differently. You speak differently, you show up differently. Confidence becomes natural, conversations become lighter, and your presence becomes attractive. Charisma isn't something you try to project, it's something people feel when you're aligned. Now, let's talk about book number 3, which is your fitness and your nutrition. One of the clearest benefits of becoming high value in the fitness space, and actually in all 4 books, but really in fitness, we're going to anchor it with gritty. And gritty is a word that I made up. Gritty does not mean motivation. You guys know how I feel about motivation. It's a temporary emotion. It's not lasting. Gritty is not hype. Gritty is motivated discipline. Motivation gets you started. Gritty keeps you showing up. That's why the gym is packed in January and thins out by February. Most people don't quit because it's hard. They quit because discipline was never built up. See, when identity shifts, consistency becomes normal. You stop negotiating with excuses. High-value humans don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, what's required? Have you ever been to the gym and look around and you have people just kind of pushing weights around? There's no real, you can tell there's no real objective to what they're doing. They're on their phone, texting. Have you ever seen somebody just sit at a machine that you want to get on for 10 minutes and just text? Get off the machine. Get off of my machine. Get out of my way. I have purpose. I have intensity. I have places to be and things to do today. If you don't, get out. See, what's going to happen when you become high value is you're going to pick up your intensity at the gym. Not frantic effort, but focused, intentional effort. Intensity isn't actually about effort. It's about purpose. Going back to the person with no plan, though, no plan in the gym leads to no intensity. See, what you actually need in the gym to get you motivated, if you don't have a trainer, you are your own trainer, by the way. You need to learn how to compete with yourself. You need to go in every day and ask how you can push yourself. Hey, it's chest day. How much am I going to bench today? How many reps am I going to do? How many did I do last week? Okay, I'm going to beat that by 1. How much weight did I lift last week? I'm going to beat it by 10. You train with intention and you push with purpose. And results drive your consistency. See, high-value humans are results-driven. When you become high value, you're not going in aimlessly anymore. You have targets. And your results are going to fuel that momentum. The results create belief, and belief creates that consistency. As progress shows up, your energy increases, your confidence grows, and discipline gets locked in. Let's go to nutrition. What does that look like? Discipline over desire is another way to put that. Discipline is something that's extremely hard. Have you ever seen somebody in the gym? I like to call it fat boy fit. You could tell that they work out. They're muscular. But you could also tell they're carrying way too much body fat. So you can see they're strong, but their muscles don't pop. There's no definition. Why is that? Because they may have discipline in the gym, but they don't have discipline at the dinner table. See, one of the benefits that you're going to get when you become a high-value human when it comes to nutrition is you're going to have discipline of mind over your flesh. Your mind leads and your body follows. There's a difference between fueling your body and filling your body. When you become high value, you know the difference. You know what should go into your body and what shouldn't. You know when it should go into your body and when it shouldn't. Your discipline shows up on your plate. You know what it looks like. You know what should be on it. You know if you should be eating at 10 p.m. a heavy carb meal or not. It's not difficult to figure out. And then last, your energy is going to increase. So between your fitness and when your fitness and your nutrition align, between the two, your energy skyrockets, your focus sharpens, and your endurance increases. Your energy becomes your unfair advantage, guys. Remember how I said one area leaks into all the others? When your energy is off the charts because your nutrition and your fitness are dialed in, how do you show up at work? How are you going to show up at home? How do you show up at church? Your energy shows up everywhere. When your body is dialed in, everything else levels up. I'm trying to think of a different way to say this, but the best way to say it would be if you don't get disciplined to become high value, then everything's going to stay the same. See, you don't actually get disciplined to become high value. You become high value and discipline becomes who you are. When your body is strong, fueled, energized, you win the entire day, every single aspect of it, not just your workout. Book number 4, Spirituality and Purpose. I'm gonna expand on this on Thursday, day 4. We're going to talk a lot more about how faith and purpose apply to becoming high value. We're going to extend on that. But for now, understand this. From a faith and purpose standpoint, faith replaces fear. One of the most powerful benefits of becoming high value is your faith over your fear. Fear keeps you reactive. Your faith makes you intentional. Fear creates mental noise, second guessing, confusion, emotional volatility. And your fear fragments your focus. You're constantly reacting instead of leading. You stay very busy, but you're not very clear. You move, but you have very little direction. Have you ever done that? You're moving all day. At the end of the day, somebody asks you, hey, what did you get done today? And you're like, well, did you make all of your calls? No, I made about half of them. You didn't have clear direction. You didn't have clear focus. Fear keeps you moving. It doesn't tell you where to go. But here's what faith restores. It grounds you in presence, it grounds you in peace, and it grounds you in optimism. Faith creates calmness in the middle of a very pressure-packed day. You're no longer panicking about outcomes. You stop living in what if, and you start operating from what's next. See, faith doesn't remove pressure, it removes panic. Your clarity and your focus start to return. When fear quiets, focus sharpens. Your decisions become a lot easier, they simplify. And your direction becomes clear. Clarity becomes your spiritual advantage. You don't need certainty, you don't need conviction. Faith allows you to move forward without seeing the entire path. Your purpose starts to come into view. You don't drift. You move with intention, even when the future isn't fully visible, which is what faith is. Faith is moving in a direction without being able to see completely and clearly what's at the end of that. Now, you probably have a vision for what's at the end, but you don't see it yet. You don't realize it yet. Your faith is what keeps you moving towards that because you can see what's at the end, even though it's not yet visible. Your fear is going to ask you, what if it fails? Your faith is going to ask you, who am I becoming? Purpose stops being pressure, it becomes alignment. You see, purpose doesn't shout, it pulls. So look, guys, that's a pretty good overview. You can add a lot to each of those sections. But what if it looked like that? What if all 4 areas of your life were hitting on all cylinders? If health and fitness relationships and spirituality were working, what would it look like at work? If work was working, what would it look like at home? If your health was on point, what would it look like everywhere else? See, these benefits aren't luck, they're identity driven. Momentum comes faster than you think once your alignment with your identity actually clicks. So on Friday, day 5, you're going to learn how to remove the friction from your execution. You're going to learn how to maximize all areas of your life. Remember, I'm going to give you the roadmap, and I'm going to give you a worksheet to identify where your challenges are. So here's my question in closing. Which book, if any, are you writing now? Which one are you working on? Hopefully all 4. Which one better question, which one are you focused on? Because you're writing all 4, whether you know it or not. Which one are you focused on? And it could be more than one. And if it's 0, you better start getting clear about your direction. Which one's ready for a new chapter? I spent 26 years in the real estate business before I got into this business. 26 years I didn't plan on spending. Industry I never necessarily wanted to get into. I wanted to get into the real estate business. I never wanted to become a real estate salesperson or a real estate agent. I spent 26 years in that business. And 2 years ago, I decided it's time to make a change because I knew that I needed to become more high value. I knew I needed to impact more people's lives. And I couldn't do that in the real estate business. Did I make a great living? Yes. Did I have amazing years? Absolutely. But it wasn't who I was, and I knew it. I knew it all 26 years. Which chapter do you need to turn the page on and start writing a new chapter? 1 year from now, whose story are you going to be living? Yours or somebody else's? See, your life is already telling a story. The question is whether you're writing it intentionally or not. So listen, today's the benefits. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the cost because yes, you have to give some things up in order to get the payoff for being high value. You don't need a new life. You need new alignment. And remember, momentum isn't forced. It's unlocked. Listen, guys, don't wait for proof. Become the proof. Wake up the warrior. We'll see you tomorrow.